Where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. God has given us unlimited treasures in His Word. Every time we open it, we can discover a new treasure or admire an old one. What will we find today? Here's Carla Early with Treasure Hunt in the Word.
I would have loved to have known my father's parents, but they died well before my birth. My husband, however, had all 4 sets of his great-grandparents alive when he was born. In fact, his great-granddaddy Talent was still around when I entered his family. He lived to be 102, and in doing genealogy, I found that great-granddaddy Talent's grandfather lived to be 124. We find that hard to believe, but if he'd lived in the pre-flood days, he probably would have been considered a child. They lived to be 700, 800, and even over 900 years old. If you did a timeline of all the people in Genesis genealogies, you'd see that the ages got dramatically shorter after the flood. But Shem himself lived to be 600 years old. He died when Jacob was 50 and Isaac was 90. Shem actually outlived Abraham. Noah was even around until Abraham was 58. I doubt that they had family reunions back in those days, and we have no idea if Abraham, Isaac, or Jacob actually met these long-living forefathers or not. But somehow, their stories were preserved through the generations. And it's entirely probable that in his travels, God might have led Abraham to the tent of Shem so he could hear first-hand stories of the flood and Grandpa Noah and all God had done for them. So many points to ponder when it comes to genealogy. In Genesis 11, it all came down to Terah, who had Haran, Abram, and Nabor. In the Genesis narrative, Terah moved the family from Ur to Haran, and from there, after Terah's death, God called Abram out. When Stephen tells the story in Acts 7, he shortens it so that God called Abram while his family was in Ur. If you look at a map, you might wonder why the family took the long way to Canaan. But there's a simple explanation. Drawing a straight line from Ur to the Promised Land would have taken them straight through desert. Instead, they followed the Euphrates River through the Fertile Crescent of Mesopotamia up to Haran. God called Abram out of Ur for one main reason: idolatry. When recounting the story to the Israelites, Joshua said, "Long ago your fathers lived beyond the Euphrates, Terah, the father of Abraham and Nahor, and they served other gods." Ur was known for worshiping the sun and moon. God called them, or at least Abraham, out of idolatry. They settled in Haran, which is now in modern-day Turkey. They still resided there years later when Abraham sent a servant to find a wife for Isaac, and still later when Jacob returned there to marry Leah and Rachel. Though they seem to know about the Lord, they still have household gods, which Rachel stole when they left. God called Abram out of Ur, out of idolatry, out of a wealthy, self-centered, comfortable place, to Haran, a crossroads trading town. He stayed there for a while, but that wasn't his final destination. What has God called you out of? Have you followed Him all the way? What's your final destination? What's your calling?
You can contact us at treasurehuntintheword@gmail.com. We'd love to hear the treasures God has given you through His Word. You can listen to other episodes on our website, which you can find in the description below. Thank you for listening, and remember, where your treasure is, there will your heart be also.